Hello everybody, my name is gregarganda, and this week I'm going to be doing my pick for the Burns redo, Eastern Promises, film by David Cronenberg about the Russian mafia inside of England, and this corrupt scandal that's about to break loose, where it is reputed that a young girl was brought over from a small Russian town, and coming to England, she was bought by a sex slave trafficker who is the Russian mob boss in England, who is this really nasty dude. But she ends up getting pregnant and going to the hospital. She's dying. She's just been beaten to shit. Like really beaten up badly by this Russian mob boss just because he's a really nasty tyrant. And she gets there and she gives birth and she ends up dying. Now, Naomi Watts was the midwife who delivered the baby, and upon delivery, the mom ended up dying, and she left a little notebook that was just completely filled with Russian language. So she went to go get it translated by two people, her uncle, who she lives with, and this known little catering business right down the street that's known for being a Russian catering business. And it's owned by this sweet old man and his really flamboyant, ridiculous son, who she later finds out after giving a copy of the notebook to him that he is in fact the Russian mob boss who beat the living shit out of this girl and raped her on a regular basis. The whole, nice old man down the street is just like a complete facade, and she basically, Naomi Watts, set herself up for the Russian mob trying to come after her. That's where Viggo Mortensen comes into the picture, because he is this, seemingly he is this driver of the Russian mob boss's son, and he is basically trying to get himself promoted in any way possible by putting himself out there. And he puts himself out there in front of the boss, and basically he tries to take care of the fucked up situations that this guy Kirill, who is played by Vincent Cassel beautifully, who is doing all these he's doing these they're almost kind of like mob killings, but they're really not even completely commanded by him. So it's found out that Viggo Mortensen is actually a agent for, I believe it's either a CIA or NATO, but he is an undercover cop, and he's trying to get in as deep as he possibly can inside of this business. And he does it really well, because when you're watching Viggo Mortensen, he's really living the part of this extraordinarily seemingly seedy character, Nikolai, and he's just doing all these terrible, not exactly, he doesn't kill for the Russian mob, but he dismembers and makes things disappear, essentially. He's kind of like a cleanup guy. And now, what I like about this movie is that there's this really awesome, interesting dynamic between the mob world and the regular people world. There's this great saying by Viggo. He's just talking to Naomi Watts' character. It's you do not belong with people like me. Go inside with nice people. Stay away from bad men like me. And that's kind of an underlying current throughout this film, because there's also this interesting it's an interesting aspect. There's these two different mob bosses in the film. One of them is the main one, who's this really nasty fuck, and his son is Vincent Cassel, character named Kirill, who tries to basically put up this facade and bolster himself up and act like he is a real mafia member. But in reality, he seems like the struggle between a sweet kid who just wants to look up, have his dad be proud of him, But the thing is that this sweet kid who's really trying way too hard to, like, show off to his dad that, he is, like, I can actually be a mobster too. But the thing is that, like, it's painfully obvious throughout the film that he's just, like, he's attempting to be a mobster, but he's just, like, he just never fits in. It just doesn't work out. And that's why, like, rewatching this movie, it's really cool to, like, actually notice that about Carol, because, like, Vincent Castle, to the very first viewing, might just look like an idiot, but, like, second viewing, there's something, like, much more deep and, like, kind of painful about watching him just trying to, like, live up to his dad's expectations, but finally, like, really realizing that his dad is completely fucking evil. There's another aspect with the other mob boss that was horrible. There's a scene where this guy basically uses his son, who is kind of a simpleton. He's got a undefined mental disorder, and he uses him to murder this guy in a barber shop. And that was really, really, like, horrible to watch. But what I did like about this is that he did not want to do it. He was just like, the guy was just bullying his son into doing it, so, like, it was, like, obvious, like, yelling persuasion. So there's this awesome dynamic. Like, you can feel the bridge, this humongous bridge in between the mob world and the regular world where, you're just doing your job, and the mob world where, like, there's this horrible, horrible, horrible organization. Because in terms of mob bosses, the Russian mob boss in this movie is just a fucking tyrant. Now, what I really like also about this movie is that everybody plays this really cool facade. Viggo Mortensen, the other undercover agent, who is, like, he just fits into a mobster's shoes like that. The mob boss of the Russians himself is just, first glance, he seems like the sweetest guy. Like, you want to, like, go to one of these guys' parties and, like, have him, like, have his kids, play the violin, and then when everybody leaves the room, he's beating the living shit out of his son. He's just like, get me more prostitutes to beat and rape. He's just like, whoa, this dude's a fucking monster. Kirill's really interesting because, like, Kirill's, like, he attempts to be a mobster. He's just not one, though. He's really, really flamboyant. Like, he loves everybody around him, and so, like, it's obvious that he's just, like, putting up the facade of trying to be a gangster and just never really achieving it. Now, final thing I gotta say that I really, really like about this movie in itself is, just straight up Viggo Mortensen. Viggo Mortensen's character is just fucking awesome. Like, the reason why I like this movie as opposed to his other movies, one, I get to see him naked, so I get to know what he is like nude. Two, it gets to be uncomfortably close to, like, a really evil character without being evil. He just appears to be evil, but he's not evil at all. And he's, like, this really, really good character. The accent that he puts on, the way he talks, the way he, like, holds himself, it's just like, this is a completely different person. This isn't Viggo Mortensen. This is fucking Nikolai, undercover cop gonna rat your ass. And, like, he just becomes the character, and that's really, really, really interesting to watch, because there's no other Viggo Mortensen role that I've seen that's quite like this, as, like, interesting of, like, a change from, the way he normally speaks in interviews to, like, this, with, like, this, like, big, like, piece of meat in his mouth, like, I'm Russian, I smoke cigarette, and, it's so fucking awesome. Now, what I don't like about this film, these are meaningless things to be really bothered by, but the film in itself is really short. It's like 90 to 100 minutes long, and this film could have easily been like an epic, like, fucking 3.5 hour movie. Yeah, I know that, like, a lot of people would complain about that, but I think that with the story that was set up, that this film could have easily had a sequel. but it probably wouldn't have been as special just because a lot of the film is just trying to like basically see if the girl who gets raped actually gets justice. Like raping, like, she ends up dying, like having birth, but like in the end, she actually gets justice or not. So I guess it's really just like it's just a short movie, and I don't know. Like I just didn't really feel like any full relief in terms of finding out what happens with Viggo Mortensen's character. It's almost like an introductory to him, like actually getting into the mafia. But with all that said, I give this film 2 huge thumbs up. Do not take it seriously, and Civilian Snowman, I really love your reviews. Thank you for watching my movie. Awesome. Take it easy, guys. Until next week.